Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for the kickoff webinar for the 2025 Sector Ministers meeting. My name is Anjani Kapoor and I'm the Head of Policy at the Sanitation and Water for All Partnership. I'm pleased to be a moderator for this webinar. Before we begin, I would like to share a few housekeeping reminders. We have simultaneous interpretation available in English and French. So please select your preferred language by clicking on the globe at the bottom of the Zoom screen. If you're a panelist, please select the language of your choice when you're speaking. Please enter your name, organization or ministry and country in the chat box. Also use the chat function to submit your questions, and I'll do my best to pass them on to the relevant speakers. Next slide, please. Today, we have come together with a sense of purpose, but also urgency. As a sector, we aim for universal access to water, sanitation, and hygiene by 2030, which is only 5 years away. With this determination to accelerate our progress and build resilience amidst the ongoing multiple crises, we convene this webinar to initiate the preparatory process for the sector ministers meeting this year. In terms of agenda, as you can see on your screen, we will discuss the preparatory process for the sector ministers meeting at the global level and at the national level. This will also include opening remarks from the chair of the SWA steering committee and the related announcement from the government of Spain. Next slide, please. I now welcome our steering committee chair, Patrick Moriarty, who will help us set the scene for today's discussion. Thank you for joining us, Patrick. The floor is yours.
Great. Thank you so much, Anjani, and welcome everybody to this kickoff webinar. It's a real pleasure to be with you as we officially launch the preparatory process to this year's sector ministers meeting. I must say, despite the turbulent times in which we find ourselves, I'm really excited to be here with you at the start of the run-in to what is, I think, the high point of our partnership's multi-annual cycle. And let me start by extending our sincere thanks to the government of Spain for their generosity in agreeing to host the sector ministers meeting. I'm delighted that we're joined today by representatives from the government of Spain. I'm looking forward to hearing your interventions. And I'd just like to emphasize again how much we appreciate your support and commitment to the collaboration. I also think that Spain is uniquely positioned at the moment to host this high-level meeting. And I think many of you on the call may have heard or seen reports of the devastating floods that hit the Valencia region last year. I mean, that was one among many events during the year that underline the frightening reality of the challenges we face from climate change. So Spain's commitment to building climate resilience is underpinned by recent lived experience. What's more, with its strong policies and technical expertise in integrated water resource management, climate adaptation, disaster risk reduction, Spain stands at the forefront of global efforts for sustainable development. By hosting the meeting in October, Spain is providing a vital platform to accelerate global actions that link water, sanitation, and climate resilience. The sector ministers meeting presents a unique opportunity to drive collective and coordinated action. Over the past 15 years, Sanitation and Water for All's high-level meetings have been the only regular ministerial-level global forums dedicated to water and sanitation. And these gatherings bring together ministers responsible for water, sanitation and hygiene, along with their counterparts responsible for climate, environment, health and the economy. And I think this is something we've really grown in the last few years, reaching out of what can sometimes be a silo in our water and sanitation sector to engage with all those other critical sectors who we need to work with to deliver our Sustainable Development Goal related aims. The sector ministers' meetings create a space for leaders to discuss strategies, to identify solutions, to explore innovative ways to elevate the political prioritization of water, sanitation, and hygiene. And in this challenging global context, meetings like the SMM are more than timely, they're indispensable. They offer a one-of-a-kind safe space for ministers from different sectors to speak openly, exchange insights, and build lasting partnerships. They are a critical part of what we do. They convert individual leaderships into coordinated momentum. They foster trust. They drive and underpin bold decisions, and they reinforce national strategies through shared global purpose. So as we approach key milestones, such as COP30, the 2026 UN Water Conference, I think our meeting has the potential to serve as a vital catalyst, aligning national action with international goals and keeping water and sanitation central to national economic development, sustainability, and climate resilience. The SMM, or the SMMs, and this SMM, are important events in and of themselves. But they're also milestones on our journey, on our partnerships journey to collective action for equity, resilience, and prosperity. What comes before and what comes after are, in fact, just as important as the conference itself. So let us, therefore, make maximum use of the next 6 months to come together at the national level to prepare our ministers for the sector ministers meeting, and in so doing, to build the foundations that are required to transform our shared vision into political will and eventually into impact. Thank you so much for being here with us, and I'm looking forward to a really fruitful conversation ahead. And with that, back to you, Anjani.
Thank you, Patrick. I now have the pleasure of welcoming the government of Spain. Joining us is Conchita Marcuello, Coordinator of International Water Affairs at the Ministry for the Ecological Transition and the Demographic Challenge, the Government of Spain. Conchita, thank you once again for hosting the Sector Ministers meeting this year, as Patrick said, and I give you the floor to take us through some of those details and the overarching theme, please. Over to you.
Thank you, Anjani. Distinguished representatives of governments, development partners, civil society, and colleagues from the Sanitation and Water for All Global Partnership. It is a pleasure to greet you and to take part in this important milestone as we launch the 2025 Sector Ministers meeting. Spain is honored to host the Sector Ministers meeting on 22 and 23 October 2025. Next, please. In the city of Madrid, the capital of Spain, and located in the Tagus River Basin, the largest river of Spain and one of the 4 shared with Portugal. Next, please. Next, please. Next, please. In Madrid, you will be able not only to see one of the most valuable collections of paintings at the Prado Museum, located within walking distance of the emblematic areas of Puerta del Sol and Plaza Mayor squares. Next. Enjoy the Royal Palace and its surroundings. Next, please. Or even go to the most visited museum in Spain, the Bernabéu Stadium. Next, please. Now, back to work. Preparation is already underway. The meeting will be held at IFEMA Municipal Palace, located at 15-minute distance by metro from Barajas International Airport. Next, please. IFEMA Municipal Palace is a cutting-edge building that will provide the ideal setting for this ministerial gathering, combining logistical excellence with a strong commitment to sustainability and accessibility, and having all the facilities required for this important meeting. This meeting comes at a critical moment in the global agenda. Spain will host the 4th International Conference on Financial for Development in Sevilla in June, reaffirming global commitments to aligning finance with sustainable development. The sector ministers meeting following in October offers a unique opportunity to build on that momentum and create a bridge towards the UNFCCC COP30 by deepening collaboration on climate, water resources, sanitation, and resilience. We thank the SWA partnership for their trust and collaboration, and we look forward to welcoming you to Spain in October. Next, please. This upcoming ministerial meeting will provide a unique space for ministers to reflect on how to move from siloed sectoral planning to more integrated vision on water, sanitation, and environment, one that aligns water and sanitation services with water resource management and climate goals. For Spain, this meeting is a key opportunity to reaffirm the human rights to water and sanitation as foundational to resilience, advance a more interconnected agenda, linking safe access to water and sanitation with sustainable water resources management, climate adaptation, and environmental protection, and contribute to the shaping of a global dialogue on intergovernmental water cooperation, especially as we look ahead to the UN Water Conference in 2026. Spain brings to this dialogue our long-standing experience in water basin management and integrated water resources governance in a scarce environment in many areas of our country and exacerbated by climate change. These models developed through decades of institutional strengthening and cooperation at national and river basin models, we think that they can serve as a valuable contribution to the sector ministers' global conversation. And that's what we would like to expect for this meeting. So we see the ministerial meeting not only a key political momentum, but a substantive opportunity to align policy and investment in ways that serve people, the economy, and the planet. We really look forward to working with all of you to make this transformative and inclusive milestone. Thank you very much, and we really enjoy to have you all in Madrid in October. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Conchita, for taking us through the details and for your support, steer, and engagement and encouragement these past few months. We look forward to working with you, and thank you again. Next slide, please. Now let's dive into the preparatory aspects of the sector ministers meeting. Joining us is Paul Deverill from Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office, UK, who's also the co-chair of the sector ministers meeting task team, which is working closely with the SWA Secretariat. Paul, the floor is yours. Please update us about the work of the task team.
Yes, firstly, Anjani, can you hear me okay?
Very well, Paul.
Good. Yeah, well, it is indeed an auspicious occasion, this webinar, and I'd like to reinforce the thanks that you've just provided to our hosts, the government of Spain, and the various ministries involved in this undertaking, which is really excellent and appropriate. Spain is one of the most water-scarce countries in Europe. It's also, I think, October is probably the rainiest month in Spain. So hopefully we'll get a flavour of what Spain needs so desperately, a bit of fresh water. The task team was set up maybe about, 5 weeks ago? We ran a meeting of the high-level political dialogue working group, and we called for volunteers, and we got a good response reflecting all the constituencies of sanitation and water for all. Obviously, first and foremost, the government of Spain is represented, but we also have the governments of Zimbabwe and also the Palestinian Water Authority in our team. And that is complemented by NGOs and international institutions, by UNICEF itself, Aquafed, which is the representing a network of private utilities. The World Bank is also on it. I should probably call out WaterAid because Anjani is here and she's embedded in WaterAid at the moment, and World Health Organization as well. So a really good setup here. We would possibly still need a bit more insight from our government partners as well. And so what we've also done is we've reached out to a number of governments, including, for example, Nepal. And I can see that Minister is actually in the meeting as well, just to gauge what their appetite for the meeting and their expectations would be. The group is meeting quite regularly at this basis to work with the Secretariat on the concept note, and that work is going well. The theme is already pretty much agreed. The integration theme, the breaking silos theme, which has already been discussed by Conchita. Now we're working on specific objectives, outcomes, in other words, what those objectives will achieve, and also the kind of modalities based on lessons learned from Costa Rica and more recently in Indonesia, very much focusing on the role of ministerial, or we could call them ministerial dialogues, these small group meetings which are well facilitated, which also include measured representation from other constituencies as well, where ministers are effectively in a safe space to discuss the challenges they face, opportunities and solutions, agreeing these before presenting these in plenary. That's going to be very much at the heart of this meeting. I'm absolutely sure then that the AFIMA Municipal Palace has got scope for quite a few breakout rooms, because that's what we'll be needing. Can we have the next slide, please? I see I've run out of time already. At some stage, I'll talk about linkages between this meeting and HOSI. I think I can do that maybe after Sitali. That might be better. Anjani, back to you.
Sounds good, Paul. Thank you so much. Let's move on to next slide, please. I now welcome my colleague Muyatwa Sitali, who's the head of the country and partner engagement at the SWA Secretariat. Sitali would be taking us through the national preparatory process as to how countries and the partners would be working in the run-up to the sector ministers meeting over this 6-month period. The floor is yours, Sitali. And yes, I'll come back to you, Paul, on the linkages with the flagship initiatives that is HOSI among others. Thank you.
Thank you, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. Greetings from New York. It's a little bit early, but so excited to be here. Distinguished guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to share with you our proposed approach to prepare for this meeting. This approach builds on the several meetings that we have hosted, organized, and co-convened since the beginning of the partnership 15 years ago. The SWA, whenever we hold a high-level meeting of ministers or other decision makers, we run a 6-month preparatory process. This 6-month preparatory process is government-led at country level. It is also multi-stakeholder in that it involves multiple parts of the SWA partnership, including civil society, private sector, utilities and regulators, so the service providers are included, the research and learning agencies, as well as the group of actors called external support agencies. That last group of actors includes UN agencies, bilateral and multilateral financing institutions, philanthropic institutions. So as you will see from this broad list of stakeholders, this is really intended to be a broad group of actors led by the government at country level in identifying the key aspects related to the theme of the meeting, and also in identifying solutions and making serious, actionable milestones and commitments, which can then be used for follow-up and tracking. In this meeting, we think that it should help us with at least 3 things, or rather it should help the sector with 3 things. The first is to identify the global and national challenges affecting progress with relation to the theme of the meeting around water, sanitation, hygiene, and environment. We think that this meeting should help to identify the sectoral silos that are limiting success as it is today, as well as identify risks and vulnerabilities which could bring back progress and affect the gains that have already been made. And also in that regard, identify what the cost of inaction would be in the event that business as usual continued. As you would understand, this meeting is happening in an environment which is not really business as usual. Therefore, we need to identify solutions and actions that can create changes not only in the margins, but also create changes that are substantial and at scale. We think that the meeting should help to demonstrate results which can be achieved with joint action, thereby looking for case studies that are already showing this integrated approach, showing where the silos are already being tackled, and therefore creating a sense of hope and ambition that can be achieved by looking at some of those examples which are already delivering change in places where these solutions are required. We think that this meeting the preparatory process should also demonstrate smart and cost-effective solutions, which governments will require, given the time in which we are operating, and also just given the need to be very prudent in terms of cost effectiveness as well as value for money. The final item in terms of the preparatory process is to create opportunities for joint actions and increased political prioritization, and also to bring together partners so that they can create solutions to increase economic and environmental returns for people and planet, and generate the political momentum as well as support that is required across water, sanitation, and climate. The preparatory process will use multi-stakeholder discussions at country level to ensure that ministers are briefed and ready to work on joint initiatives. You will realize that I'm emphasizing the role of government in this process. However, this meeting, as I began with, is not only for government. It is also for all the other stakeholders within SWA and beyond. By that, I imply other actors working across the SDGs, given the critical role of water, sanitation, hygiene, environment in achieving the majority of the Sustainable Development Goals. Shall we move to the next slide, please? Now we share with you the proposed actions between now and October, and I will also discuss at the end of this some of the actions beyond the meeting, given that the meeting itself for us is not just an event. The meeting is a process leading to joint action as well as follow-up post the meeting. Between April and May, we've split this in two levels, global level as well as national level. Between April and May, we will have the following actions at the global level, the kickoff webinar, which is happening today, and we're grateful that you've been able to join. After the webinar, we will disseminate preparatory materials. This will include, of course, once they have been finalized, the objectives of the meeting, as Paul was indicating. We will also share with you the guidance note for the preparatory process. This is similar to documents that we've shared in the past, but we have adapted this to the meeting and also to the current context. And we will reach out to countries and the different SWA constituencies to organize constituency-specific meetings as well as country meetings. Those country meetings are meant to bring together the government and all the different stakeholders. So I'd like to make an appeal to our government focal points in the different countries to already start to think of when you might have an ideal moment where you're meeting with multiple stakeholders, so that we could use those moments to share more information about the sector ministers meeting and discuss how to take this together, how to take this forward together. At the end of May, we propose we will organize regional webinars. These regional webinars will look at how water, sanitation, and hygiene can contribute to the advancement of economic and environmental goals for people and planet. So we propose for that to be at the end of May, somewhere around 28th May. It might be a day or two after, depending on your region. At the national level, we propose that you start already to prepare briefings for ministers. Once you receive the materials that we'll send, you can adapt those to be able to engage with your ministers. But it would be good, depending on how soon you are able to meet the minister, to already start to inform them that the sector ministers meeting is coming up and if those debts can already be blocked. We also propose that you develop a roadmap for the preparatory process. This does not necessarily need to add extra items to your activities. As we've done in the past, we encourage that you use ongoing national processes to ensure that there is alignment and maximize already ongoing opportunities. These could be the joint sector review. It could be a sector coordination meeting. It could be a donor coordination conversation at country level. Those could be good opportunities to do that. Equally, we encourage our partners at global level to also already start to speak to their principals, to their leaders, in particular those that will be invited, but also to different stakeholders who are contributing to the sector to already to start putting this in their minds. And we also ask that you request for support from us, from the Secretariat, on the preparatory process. We will run what's called a help desk. I will explain a little bit later why this will be the case. In the course of April and May, we encourage partners to indicate to us where you might need support, and our colleagues running the help desk will be able to organize additional bilateral meetings. Thank you very much. Shall we go to the next slide? So for June and July, we at the global level, we will continue with the country and constituency meetings, as well as following up on confirmations to make sure that we're getting information regarding ministerial participation. And in that month of June and July, in those 2 months, we will also begin to put together the delegations from the different constituencies. Just to explain for those who might be new, the ministers are invited from all the SWA partner countries. We are talking here nearly 90 governments that are in SWA. So those will receive invitations, but for the different constituencies, for reasons of space, we will request that a list of delegation be put together, a list of delegates be put together. And so we will provide the numbers as to how many per constituency can be selected, and there will be a call for expressions of interest within the constituencies. Therefore, there will be internal constituency processes to identify those delegates. There will also be regional involvement, or rather involvement in regional processes such as PANAFCON, where there will be some other events that we're working with partners in connection to the Heads of State initiative, but that will also provide opportunities for discussions around the sector ministers meeting. And at the end of July, we plan to organize a small ministerial roundtables, which will be virtual, to already begin to discuss with some of the ministers some of the key things that keep them awake at night with regards to this theme, so that this could also help to strengthen the preparations for the ministerial dialogues that will take place in Madrid. And these small but targeted and focused ministerial conversations will focus on securing our economies and environment, and how political leadership can really support our water security and resilience. So that will be towards the end of July, when these small roundtables will happen with a few ministers, and these will be virtual. At national level, we encourage partners to organize interministerial briefings in this month of June, July. In the first 2 months, those will be specific ministerial conversations that we would like to encourage. In June, July, we would like to encourage interministerial conversations. So bringing ministers from different ministries together, and to already begin to discuss some of these points that are crucial for the meeting, as at that moment you would already have begun to look into some of the details in terms of the contents of the meeting. Some of these interministerial briefings and meetings have happened in the past. So if you're looking for examples, please reach out to us and we'll be happy to connect you with countries that have done so in order to increase learning across the partnership. What is important really is that even if some of the ministers may not be invited to the meeting, for example, ministers of finance, it will really be important to still include them in these conversations at country level so that they can already begin to think how to connect the conversations in the sector with budgets and with other areas. Equally so, ministers of planning, that would be crucial in the process. In the month of June, July at country level, we encourage the drafting of country overviews. I will explain this. This is one of the outputs of the preparatory process. It's a short document that the minister should carry and bring to the meeting. But as this will need to include input from different ministries, it is important that this already begins to happen early enough in the process. We also ask partners to brief ministers and invite them to the ministerial webinar that I mentioned above, the ministerial table to August and up to the end or up to October. I think that's the next slide. Thank you so much. So at the global level, in those last 3 months prior to the meeting, we will distribute information related to some of the aspects related to the outcome or outcome of the meeting. We will also reach out to the different constituencies to continue the preparations for the meeting. And also to, we will prepare a webinar which will be focused on providing the last pieces of information for the meeting. Specifically, this webinar will focus on commitments to action so that we could bring all the analysis that has happened into what the actual solutions look like, to showcase a little bit of that just before we get to the meeting, and then concretely focus on some of the aspects related to the meeting, such as the agenda and the run of show. So that will be final information that will be provided in that webinar. However, we will create room and space for an additional virtual Q&A space on October 14. So if you would have missed information in September in that last webinar, we will provide a last effort on October 14, which will be a quick Q&A for those that are looking for final information. That's more or less like a clinic to prepare for the meeting. And then at the national level, we would be asking for finalization of country overviews, confirmation of ministers' participation, as well as confirmation that ministers and other participants have got visas, and also share the country overviews with the Secretariat for comments. If you would like us to comment on those country overviews, please do share them with us by September 5. Shall we go to the next slide, please? Now here, just explaining a little bit the country overview. I take it most of you who have been working with SWA for a while would be familiar with this process. The country overview is really a short document outlining the key the state of affairs in terms of water, sanitation, and environment at the country level. So that would be the one place where you bring those three aspects together to demonstrate or to give to the ministers what the progress is, but also at the same time to identify the bottlenecks and challenges that the country is facing in those areas, and then to also move systematically into identifying opportunities for success, as well as solutions that the countries could work on, and end with the very specific commitments and actions that can be taken going forward. So that document is meant to be practical. It's meant to be action-oriented. It's meant to give the country's perspective. It doesn't need to be long, really, but it needs to be smart in terms of identifying the actions and solutions. And those obviously need to show what the government is doing, but it also needs to include what other partners would contribute to that process. The final part of that country overview, which focuses on actions, will be included in the mutual accountability mechanism of SWA in order to be able to track progress and processes. Shall we go to the next slide? I believe it's the second to last. What kind of support will come from the Secretariat? The Secretariat will provide support to help with some of the analysis at country level to go into this process. We have a tool that we've used, as several countries would be familiar with this. It's called the country self-assessment. It is a tool that has been used by in a government-led process, but by multi-stakeholder actors to identify some of the key areas that would require joining up and bringing together, and also to identify some of the actions that are required to be taken going forward in these key areas. We've added to this country self-assessment tool a component on climate in order to link with the theme of the meeting, but also in several countries, you would already have provided information to GLASS as you were undertaking the GLASS review. GLASS has also provided some of the country overviews already, and I believe they're still doing that. So that would also be a useful piece of information, a useful place of information to contribute to the analysis. And of course, you could use other tools that other partners may also have prepared and provided. What will be important is that we have a conversation to see what is really very useful in the process. The Secretariat will provide a help desk, which will consist of people that are able to provide support on the use of the country as self-assessment, but also on climate analysis, as well as on the mutual accountability mechanism. So please do reach out to us to have access and to speak to people who will be providing these resources. That can be done virtually. We could also have conversations specifically on that. Our communications team is also on hand to provide communication support. Hope will speak to that, and also provide coordination on global messaging. There will also be coordination across the different constituencies and linking governments and partners. And as I indicated, we'll be doing different conversations with constituencies, including identifying stakeholders or other delegates to attend the meeting. Shall we go to the next slide? Please. Okay, so what happens next? You will receive the materials from us. We will request for you to organize bilateral conversations with us from different countries. And then at the global level, that will be done in constituency formats. You have already started to receive those emails for the constituency meetings. And then we will ask you from different countries to let us know if you need support from the help desk, and then we'll arrange those meetings also with the team running the help desk. And then for the constituencies, as I indicated, the different advisors running the constituencies are reaching out to organize these meetings. In May, we then do the webinar, and then we ask you to inform the ministers of the meeting and inform them to save the date for the meeting. Thank you so much. Anjani, over to you. I believe this is the last slide for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sitali. Let's go to Paul now on the linkages with the Heads of State initiative. Paul, the floor is yours.
Okay, so everyone really in this meeting should know what the Heads of State initiatives are, but just in case you haven't heard, it's basically a major initiative in which national governments, ministries of water and sanitation in particular, are supported to raise the profile of the sector to the highest level. In other words, head of state or head of government, and get them to champion the sector. Now, this is relevant for a number of reasons. Firstly, you want to break down silos. Yeah, it's really difficult to do that from within a ministry. It's much more easy to lead that process if you happen to be the head of state. Secondly, you want to attract more finance. Often that requires difficult discussions to be had because there's always going to be a trade-off. Who's in the best place to make that call? And then the last one is who can drive reforms? Sometimes reforms can happen within a ministry, but often they are required beyond a ministry. All three reasons, are really important. It's government-led and it is supported by development partners in country and it is supported by a small number of core partners, growing number in fact, globally, including the Netherlands government, my own government, SWA, of course, IRC, WASH, WaterAid. There's some key players there as well. So what's the connection with this meeting? SWA has got 3 priorities for this year. Yeah. 1, the Heads of State Initiative. Number 2, the Sector Ministers Meeting. Number 3, Action on Climate. And all 3 of them are going to be integrated here, for example, in this meeting. Between now and October, the 3 countries which have already launched those initiatives, that's Indonesia, South Sudan, and Ghana, will, I hope, be joined by at least 2, possibly more, before. So I'm talking about the addition maybe of Malawi or Liberia, maybe Nepal in this meeting as well. There are other contenders as well. Number 1, that work will continue. In doing that, we learn lessons, and those lessons can be shared at the sector ministers meeting. How to set it up, what can it achieve? What is it achieving? What are the challenges? What are the solutions in actually establishing this? So all of those lessons can be grouped together, and I think there could be space within the sectors meeting to discuss those. Not just the meeting itself, but the prep process. That's being mentioned by Sitali, and I'd just like to kind of really push that. During the prep process, those 6 months are an ideal opportunity to raise the issue of heads of state initiatives and what they are, what they're not, what they can achieve, what they can't achieve, with your ministerial counterparts when you meet them. It'll also be the subject, no doubt, of one of those webinars that Sitali mentioned. Also, SMM is important, but there's other stuff going on as well. There's the Pan-AFCON. I understand that Nigeria might be interested to help organize a special event on HOSI at the Pan-AFCON meeting at that summit later on in Cape Town. We also have UNGA, and there's another opportunity there. And we also have the run-up to of which this particular meeting serves as a very useful and important stepping stone. So all of that tells us, yes, HOSI will be integrated into the sector ministers meeting, just as climate will be integrated into HOSI, and climate is being integrated into the SMM as well. I hope that's a very quick summary, but Anjani, back to you.
Thank you so much, Paul, and thanks for giving us a line of sight to various events up until the sector ministers meeting, but also the next year for the UN Water Conference. And thanks for making these linkages between the global and the national initiative, that is the sector ministers meeting and the heads of state initiative. Really appreciate those thoughts. Let's now move on to the next slide, please, Anna. We go to the slide on or the discussion on communications. The floor is yours, Hope. Hope will be taking us through how our communication team and the partners will come together to create a lot of noise around the sector ministers meeting, but it is also an important moment, this preparatory process, to create these points of advocacy and accountability. So over to you, Hope. Take us through, please.
Anjani, bonjour, and good morning. I am excited to share with you some of the preliminary communications materials and let you know about some new things we are setting up this year. The first one, please grab your phones if you are not using them to join this meeting. We've set up a WhatsApp channel that we are going to be using ahead of the event to share information and during the event. QR code on the left to join it now. And later today, we'll be sending everyone the first message to welcome you to that channel. On the right-hand side is a QR code to my colleague Alicia's email. We're going to also be setting up a communications task team. So if you are in communications, want to be, or you have colleagues who are, please sign up. We're going to connect with you in the week and then stay in touch in the months leading up to SMM with some specific comms updates and information that will be helpful in the process for you. So I'll give you one last chance to attach the codes. We'll also be following, so this won't be your last opportunity, but then we can move on to the next slide. As you can see from my background, we have some fun, very colorful communications assets for you. This PowerPoint presentation as a recommendation, and here are the save the dates that we have that we'll all be sending to you after this webinar. And we also have collected on a Trello board. So after we've all seen all the information, you'll have access to these save the dates in 4 languages, as well as some different orientations depending on how you want to use it. You'll also have the Zoom backgrounds available in 4 languages and colors, so you can choose to swap them up depending on your meetings. We'll have logos, this PowerPoint template, and we'll also have social media cards. So this is what we have for the launch, but in the coming months, again, we'll be updating with key messages, some more content, more social media cards. And the best way, again, that we'll stay in touch is through email and through the communications task team. So again, do share and connect with us so that we can let you know as these things are coming available. Next slide. This is some examples of the social media cards. If when we send you the link, it won't be fully fleshed out because there's content that we're developing, but these are kind of samples of the ways that you'll be able to use them across platforms, whether that's for Instagram, LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Facebook, whatever kind of your organization's platform is, we'll have sized appropriately, provide a link. And so just to get excited about some of the fun ways that we're using some of the graphics that have been developed for this SMM. You'll also see the hashtag, and we want to ask that you please use this. It'll help us track conversations across social media leading up to the event and also during the event. So you can get familiar with it. We're excited for the SMM to be hosted in Madrid, and so you'll see that in the hashtag. It's very location-based. Next slide. And so as I've mentioned a couple of times, we're going to be sending a follow-up to this webinar. We'll share links to the recordings. We'll have a link to the Trello board that I've mentioned with these phase 1 assets. Please, again, reach out. Alicia, maybe you can put both of our emails in the chat as well if you have questions about how to use Trello or you want to know what's coming. And we'll also have the save the dates that I showed you earlier that are going to be available in 4 languages and different sizes. So you can put them on social, you can email them, however you would like to use them. But we are here and available for questions, but are also really excited to be kicking off the communication side of this with you leading up to October.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Hope. And once again, a call to action to all the communications team from our partner base. We are over 450 partners, and together we can create this momentum and advocacy message building. So please reach out to our colleagues. Let's go to the next slide. For now, thanks for sending the questions via the Zoom chat function. I have been answering those questions there, and there is a demand to put the QR code back on, Anna, for the WhatsApp group for SMM. If you can do that once more. Perfect. Thank you so much, Anna. In case anyone is having any issues with scanning the QR code, because sometimes there's this issue, we can also send you the WhatsApp link via email or the QR code via email. So you can put in your email addresses there. Perfect. We've been doing amazingly well on time, and I don't see any more questions. But of course, because this is the start of the conversation for us to kickstart the preparatory process, let's go back. Let's go to the last slide, Anna, so that we can show next to this, yes, so that we can show the contact details of all the SWA secretariat and staff members. Please reach out to us. You can see the relevant colleagues and their email addresses highlighted, the country engagement team colleagues who will be working very closely with you at the national level. Their contacts are up top, and then for any questions around the sector ministers meeting concept note, agenda, agenda and any related questions to global preparatory process, feel free to reach out to me. Also, we've put in the details of the communications team. Hope and Alicia's details are also in the chat box. Do drop in a message from any of the organizations and their communications team. We also have a help desk. As we said, this is the first time we are using the country self-assessment to prepare for the sector ministers meeting, and we'll have our colleague Philippa supporting you with that. So these are all the contact details. We will share the slides as a follow-up to the webinar, as we usually do. But as I said, and I will reiterate it, this is the start of the conversation. We thank you for your attendance and engagement today. If there are any more questions, feel free to reach out to us. Alessia has also pasted the WhatsApp link in the chat because there are many questions coming around that. But thank you so much. Thank you, Patrick, once again. Thank you, the government of Spain, for setting this theme very well for us, for taking us through the details of the venue, the dates. We are looking forward, and thanks to all the partners at the national, global, and regional level who will make this possible. Thank you so much, and we'll close the webinar now, but keep the conversation going via email and WhatsApp. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.